Hey, hello again, it's Mike Endicott here, giving my all to this Insight Out series where we've been talking about some of the things that traditions and ways of doing things which have got twisted and turned and twisted somehow down through not far off 2,000 years now, so that we're looking at them very differently today than we used to. And this one I wanted to look at was just to broaden our view of the idea of praying for things. What we tend to do is, it's coming up to Christmas as I'm recording this chat, so I think it'd be nice for me to remember the happy days of childhood when my sister and I were made to sit on the sofa in front of the fire. And my mother sat in the armchair, and what we were told to do would be to write a letter to, in the UK we call him Father Christmas, in your country you may call him Santa Claus. And, you know, the guy who arrives on the roof of your house in a sleigh drawn by reindeer on Christmas Eve with sacks of presents for your children if they've been behaving nicely. So here we are, and we were sitting there, we wrote out lists and then had to surrender them to Mother because she said she needed to check that our handwriting was good enough for Father Christmas to understand. It took me years to climb over that one. Of course, she was checking to see whether she was covered or not. We then put we had these brass toasting forks. And we should put the letter on the end of the prongs and hold it like that over the top of the flames, and of course they dissolved into smoke, and up they went up the chimney as ash, and all the way to Father Christmas, I presume, all the way to Santa Claus, so that he could pack up the things we wanted. And that was lovely. And then on Christmas, that was about a week out, I suppose, give Father Christmas time. And then Christmas Eve, we went to bed. We tried to get to sleep. Eventually, we woke up in the morning, and there was this huge stocking on the bottom of the bed, and in it was some of the things, but not all of the things by any means. But we knew not to expect it all. It was, you know, you asked for stuff. We never said thank you to Father Christmas for coming. He obviously did. His glass of sherry and mince pie from the hearth had gone. We inspected that. That had disappeared overnight, so he must have come. But we got some things and not other things. Well, that's life, isn't it? But at least enjoy what you've got. And that, when I became a Christian, struck me as being a beautiful picture of the way an awful lot of us pray. We bumble on through life until something goes wrong. What we then do is we try and get hold of God, and we say, come and help, do this, do that, do this, do that. We send up, as it were, a list up the chimney to heaven for God to come and deliver the stuff in his time, in due course. I don't want to dissuade anybody from praying like that. If that's the way that you're comfortable praying, then that's the way you should begin to learn how to pray. I'm quite happy. I'm not miserable about the way I pray. I just know that it's a thing that needs to grow a lot. Here's one way that I can widen my experience of it, and that's going back into the Old Testament, in fact, to the second book of Chronicles, chapter 20, if you want to read all about it. And here there's a king in Judah called Jehoshaphat, and he, bless his heart, is suddenly faced by three tribes together. They are the Moabites and the Ammonites and the people from Mount Seir, I think that's how you pronounce it, S-E-I-R. And they gang together with a view of really destroying completely Judah, completely destroying King Jehoshaphat and his armies. And it looks very much as if they're going to win. he looks at this lot and he sees an army much bigger than his. He sees an army much more skilled in warfare than his. He's almost, and he starts panicking. Bear with me, because so often, too often in life, we can come across walls that look insurmountable. I don't know how we're going to get over it. Something arrives which is a physical condition or a mental condition or a family upset or something which is going to crush us, and we don't know how to handle it. We're completely lost. Jehoshaphat is exactly the same place, although his is military, but it's a picture of what I'm talking about. So then along comes Jehoshaphat, and he prays. But what he doesn't actually say, please help me, or do this, Lord, or do that, Lord. He just says, help, I'm in a mess. I don't know how to get out of it. And there's a wall here that we don't seem to be able to climb over. This is disaster. So along comes a minor prophet or a priest or somebody in his tribe, I forget who now, and says to him, look, God says this, right? What I want you to do is to go and stand at the top of the valley, look down it where all these people are, the enemy at the bottom, and don't do anything, don't move, just stand there, worship me, and just watch. This is my fight now. You have involved me. This is not yours now. Back off. Let me do it my way. Let me do it my way. It is my fight, not yours. And you can read that in the second book of Chronicles 20, if you like. So what they did was that they did that. Jehoshaphat appointed the proper people to do the singing and got the choir organised and so on. And they went off up to the top of the valley and they looked down and there were the three tribes. And they just sang his praises in thanksgiving. Important. Not thank you for winning the battle, because that's a bit presumptive. He hadn't got going yet. But certainly thank you for what he is, the God of steadfast God of love, steadfast in his support of us. And they stood there and they watched, and must have been to their shock, to their surprise, what actually happens was, to cut a long story short, two of the tribes set up an argument, ambush on the third one, and they beat them up and killed them all. And not to be an end of it, then one of the tribe number 2 set up ambushes and so on against tribe number 1, and they all got into a fierce fight and killed each other. So then Jehoshaphat and his army walk down the valley, and when they get there, all they can find is all their enemies lying dead in the field. What an extraordinary result. This is what's exciting about this story, is that you or I would never have planned up an answer like that strategically. We would never have assumed that was what God was going to do. That's a completely different idea. We'd have been praying for help and strength and defense and healing and so on, wouldn't we? But no, they just said, no, they got God involved. God says, it's my problem, leave it to me. There's a real danger if we think too much about stuff that in prayer, of course, that we will muddy the waters for God. And if we'd been asking for particular strategies for God to do them for us, if Jehoshaphat had been doing that, it might not have been able to get the same result. The reason I say that is that there are 3 things here for us to hang on to, which we have lost over the centuries, because now we just send shopping lists up the chimney to God. That's our idea of prayer, mostly. But here, God is clearly saying to us through this story that praise and worship and thanksgiving are the 3 things together, not just one. Praise, worship and thanksgiving, which give God elbow room to move the way he wants to move. And believe you me, he moves a lot better and a lot more effectively than we could ever dream. And bless that thought to you. Praise, worship, and thanksgiving. To extend your prayers for yourself or family or for other people away from God just going to this, God doing that. Extend it, grow it into praise and worship and thanksgiving, and you will begin to see the kingdom come. As you would pray, your kingdom come, your will, not mine, but your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. God will be on your side, and God will do it for you. Bless you, and thank you for his steadfast faithfulness. Amen. Amen.